Warlord Crothes had conquered 17 star systems. His name made entire species surrender without battle. His armies numbered in the millions. But his 3-year-old son, Vexer, had defeated 12 nannies in 6 months. The latest one fled screaming after the child set fire to her sleeping quarters. Again, Crothes' advisors suggested military discipline, psychological reconditioning. One even whispered about sedation protocols. Then someone mentioned the human. Rachel Morrison arrived at the palace wearing jeans and carrying a backpack. She was 26, had worked at a daycare in Chicago, and looked thoroughly unimpressed by the throne room's grandeur. "You want me to watch your kid?" she asked, chewing gum. Crothes loomed over her, his battle armor still stained with the purple blood of his enemies. "My heir is spirited. The previous caretakers lacked proper discipline." "Uh-huh. What's he done?" The warlord's advisor pulled up a holographic list. Bitten 4 guards. Started 11 fires. Destroyed 3 priceless artifacts. Stabbed a diplomat with a ceremonial blade. And last week, he reprogrammed a combat drone to attack the kitchen staff. Rachel blinked. "He's 3. 3.5. Right. Where is he?" Little Vexer sat in his playroom, surrounded by destroyed toys and scorch marks. His scales were deep crimson, his eyes bright with malicious intelligence. When Rachel entered, he immediately threw a metal block at her head. She caught it one-handed without looking. "Nice arm," she said calmly. "But we don't throw things at people." Vexer hissed, a sound that had made grown warriors step back. He grabbed another toy, ready to throw. Rachel's voice dropped to what Chicago parents called the tone. "Put it down." Something in those 3 words made the young warlord hesitate. Humans didn't have scales or claws or venom sacs, but they had something his species hadn't. Evolved 10,000 years of dealing with tiny, irrational tyrants. "Now," Rachel added. The toy clattered to the floor. "Good. Now pick it up and put it back nicely." Vexer stared at her. No one gave him orders. He was heir to the throne. He was. "I can wait all day, buddy. I once had a stare down with a 4-year-old that lasted 45 minutes. He cried first. Vexer picked up the toy, slowly, resentfully, but he did it. By week 2, Vexer hadn't started any fires. By week 3, he was using words instead of biting. By month 2, he was actually playing with other children without attempting murder. Crothes watched through security feeds in disbelief. What is her secret? What technique does she use? His chief advisor reviewed the footage carefully. "Sir, I believe it's called not putting up with nonsense. Elaborate. The human has something she calls consequences. When the young master misbehaves, she implements timeouts. She also uses positive reinforcement, consistent boundaries, and what she terms the disappointed face that makes you feel worse than yelling." Crothes watched as Rachel calmly stopped Vexer from hitting another child, explained why it was wrong, and then redirected him to a constructive activity. His son, his heir who had terrorized trained soldiers, actually listened. "She has tamed him." "Not tamed, sir. Taught. There's a difference." Within 6 months, Rachel was running the entire palace nursery. Crothes had discovered that many of his officers' children were similarly spirited. The human organized them with ruthless efficiency. Nap schedules, educational activities, and something called circle time that somehow made warrior children sit quietly and share feelings. When a visiting ambassador asked how Crothes had solved his heir's behavioral issues, the warlord gestured to the nursery window. Inside, Rachel was reading a story while 15 children, including his son, sat cross-legged, completely enthralled. "I conquered 17 systems," Crothes said quietly. "But that human conquered something I could not." "What's that?" The warlord watched his son raise his hand politely to ask a question, waiting patiently for permission to speak. "Toddlers.